The platypus, what a curious creature. A duck-billed, otter-bodied, beaver-tailed, egg-laying creature. Scientists have found that they actually share genetics with reptiles, birds, and mammals. 2 years ago, my husband and I took a bucket list trip to Australia. Truth be told, I literally booked a trip to Australia so that I could see my favorite animal, a platypus, and interact with one. I did some searching and found out that Healesville Sanctuary in Melbourne, Australia, is literally the only place in the world that you can pet or otherwise interact with a platypus. For this experience, you need to book 6 or more months in advance. Wade with the platypus is a pricier splurge at about $250 Australian per person, but it's a total bucket list item, so we went for it. Plus, it's one of the only places to even see a platypus. The San Diego Zoo has had 2 since October 2019, which marks the first time in 50 years the Australians have exported the mammal. The biggest natural population of the platypus is Eastern Australia and Tasmania, although we didn't see anything in the wild. Now, Healesville Sanctuary has several other animal encounters we took advantage of, including petting and feeding a wombat, an echidna, and a kangaroo. We also held a black cockatoo, which was a free encounter with the price of admission. Healesville Sanctuary is off the beaten path, about an hour drive from downtown Melbourne. We rented a car, and my husband drove while I sat anxiously in the passenger side, because Australia drives on the opposite side of the car and opposite side of the road of the US. We arrived in the morning and took advantage of many animal exhibits. Then we watched a public platypus presentation before getting to the private interaction. The exhibit is in somewhat dim light since the platypus is normally most active at dusk and night. After putting waders on over our clothes, we climbed down into the pool with a platypus trainer. Yes, that's a real job. I was surprised at how soft and playful they were. I know the platypus I interacted with was a female because, fun fact number 1, the males are poisonous. They have venomous spurs on each hind leg. Although it wouldn't kill a human, it can cause severe pain and lockjaw, and the venom can be lethal to smaller animals. Fact 2. Even though the tail of the platypus looks like a beaver, it's functionally different. Instead of using their tail for swimming or building, the platypus uses their tail to store extra body fat in case of a food shortage. Fact 3. Platypus don't have stomachs. The food connects directly to their intestine. They also don't have teeth. They just scoop up food and grind it in their mouth. They feast on bottom-dwelling prey like fish eggs, worms, and insects, and use the gravel scooped with the food to help break down the food since they don't have teeth. Fact 4. Platypus rely on their bills underwater. They can stay underwater for 2 minutes but don't see or smell. So instead they use their beak to navigate with electroreception. Fact 5. Although the platypus lays eggs, she nurses the babies like any other mammal. It takes 10 days to hatch, and they are born blind and without fur. Fact 6. Interestingly, the platypus doesn't have nipples from which to nurse. The baby draws the milk essentially from the mother's sweat. Fact 7. The platypus is also a pretty solitary creature, so much so that if they're foraging near each other, they will switch their territory so they don't need to be near any other platypus. Fact 8. The platypus has webbed feet. They have evolved to become pretty agile swimmers. However, they're quite awkward on land. They do have nails they can extend to dig on land, but it's difficult for them to walk. Fact 9. Threats to the platypus include natural enemies like snakes, fox, and water rats, but they also face human threats such as plastic waste in the water, development, and global warming, which affects their freshwater habitat. Fact 10. In the late 1700s, when the platypus was discovered, scientists actually thought it was a hoax. And, who can blame them? Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below.